Okay, so now that we're kind of at the end of our summer and we've met as a committee, we've kind of been on like this journey of taking a look at what self-directed learning is going to look like on our campus. And we started by looking at two different forms of data. We looked at our campus data, like as a whole, at the end of the year, and then we took a look at some more individual data of our students that are performing below grade level. Um, Looking at these two different types of data, the campus data and the individual data, which lens of data, if either, do you think was most useful to you when making our decision?
I think the student-led data, just because I can see where kids were stronger or where they're weaker overall at the end. And so that kind of supported me as a teacher because I could see this group is lower and maybe reflect, like, why are these kids lower on my teaching practices, or why are these kids higher? Is there something I do well that I can put into different areas? So it kind of showed me like trends of how I can, trends that I guess I have within my own classroom.
Okay, so like looking at the more individual data was a lot more helpful.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we look at the campus data and looking at campus data as a whole doesn't really show us the individual practices from classroom to classroom. And after we reviewed the data, we felt like there was a range of ability even within our own individual classrooms, and we felt like we needed to have a more individualized approach with our students. Some of our students struggled with beginning of the year concepts like sight words and phonograms, even at the end of the year, versus some of our students were progressing right on grade level with those higher level skills like fluency and comprehension. And so, our next step after looking at data is we decided to set, or we decided that our students should set individualized goals based on their needs. So, what immediate positive impact are you anticipating next year as we guide our students in setting more individual goals?
I think students do better in school. This is just my personal thought when they have ownership of their own learning. So they're not so much told you're going to do this, you're going to do this. It's like having that buy-in. I know it's not good for you, but anyway, having that buy-in to whether they are what they are doing and how they are monitoring their own success, and having that leadership component in their own learning. So it kind of promotes different character building skills all within their learning. And we want that when they get to third and fourth and fifth grade. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Like when students have set their own goals for themselves, they do have a lot more ownership. Kind of like us as adults, when we set a goal for ourselves, we're a lot more likely to strive to meet that goal. And thinking about them as third and fourth graders, that was my next question is, what do you hope will be a long-term lasting impact on our kindergartners and first graders as they move into upper elementary grades if they start setting those individualized goals as little bitties?
Yeah, I think it relates to what you just said, because as adults we set goals, but a lot of times we just set a goal and we try to meet it. But if we made the steps and took use tools to get to our goal, then we'll be more successful. And I think giving a first grader a goal, helping them decide what their goal is, and allowing them to actually put in steps to get there and accomplish this goal, they'll be able to do that when they're third and fourth and fifth grade. And I think they'll be more successful because they'll know what steps they need to take personally to reach these goals.
Right. It really kind of lays the foundation for them for future goal setting, which we want them to do as they grow into elementary and even beyond in the middle school, high school, and college. I know that you've already dabbled in student goal setting and self-directed learning in your own classroom when you were teaching fourth grade. Were there any ideas that other committee members shared? Because, a lot of our committee members really haven't done any sort of student-led goal setting. But as they shared some of their own ideas, were there any that kind of stretched your thinking about goal setting practices in your own classroom?
Definitely. I would think that the one that stood out the most was probably the students' reflection. And that's, of course, the higher level thing, to be able to reflect and say, do I understand this? Do I not understand that? And to indicate it so that I can read and say, it seems they do well, but they don't feel like they did well. Or they feel they've mastered this, but it doesn't reflect that way. So it just kind of, as the teacher, allows me to get into their own goal setting and assist them based on their own reflection.
Right. Like sometimes their perception of how they're doing is completely different than our perception as a teacher. And you guys even came up with a unique way for how, because I know it's going to look very different for fourth graders to self-reflect as opposed to kinder and first. So how are y'all going to set kinder and first graders?
So they came up with a happy face for I get it. and then a sad face if I don't get it, and then just a line, the straight line emoji. Where I'm kind of there, but I'm not. And so the kids can definitely relate to that. They don't have to have the words. And I thought that was awesome.
Yes. So those picture cues are huge for our little people. They're doing the same work as the older grades. It just looks a little bit different for them. I know that our committee, as we made that decision to set goals, the next step was, our students are going to be working in stations to meet those goals. But if all of our kids have different goals, then they're probably going to be doing different types of station work. And when we first started to think about that, and as that reality sunk in, we realized that we were going to have to make a lot of changes to how we do stations. So what challenges do you foresee we're going to need to work through with our first graders and kindergartners as we guide them in setting those goals and then in choosing appropriate work for meeting those goals?
I was thinking as kids gravitate to what they're naturally good at, it's easier. So if they're really good at their sight words, then they might just they might just go to that station, as opposed if there's a fluency station and they're not really into reading. So I think it's just allowing the kids to see, I need this help, and it's not hard, it's not meant to be challenging, it's meant to be practiced. So that you're as good as comprehension or fluency as you are on knowing knowing your sight words. So I foresee that being an issue, that kids might just gravitate to what they want. And then also as a teacher, we have 20 students with different needs, and just how do we constantly change our centers, our stations to meet the needs of every student? And then how do we assess whether they're actually performing in those stations to their full potential?
So it's going to be a challenge to hold kids accountable to choosing work they need over the work that they want, and also being able to keep up with their ever-changing, because of course we hope that our students aren't going to be working on the same goals all year. Hopefully they'll master those goals over the course of a couple weeks, and we'll really have to be proactive and have work ready for them for when they're ready to take their next step. So I know as a teacher that can feel really overwhelming to constantly keep your thumb on that and switch out materials as needed. So thinking about that challenge, in what ways do you hope that our committee will continue to collaborate and support each other to meet that challenge?
So when we all met, I noticed one teacher had a great idea of something she did in her classroom, and I would have never thought of that. And I had something to share that I found that was strong for allowing kids to lead to their own success. So I like that we all share things and we put it on one sheet, one goal setting sheet, one tool, and that kind of made that one tool stronger rather than her having a semi-strong sheet and I have a semi-strong tool. I like that we came together. So I hope that we continue to come together as we grow and as we learn and develop and share it to make one tool that will work for all students. And even vertical alignment, if we're doing it in first grade, how can we make this transition into second grade? How can we have a foundational concept with all of our goal setting so that they gradually move and have an understanding of that?
So it'll be important for us to horizontally align our practices as well as vertically align our practices. So as an administrator, what support will the committee need, or what resources will the committee need in order for that to happen, that vertical alignment piece?
I think that goes back to your first question about data. I think constantly having data, and I know that we see that in our classroom, but maybe universal, like a grade level type of thing, so we can see that these kids are getting stronger in this concept. Is there a reason why they're doing better in fluency in this class, and see what we can reflect? And I think just having the meetings and having accountability for the teachers to really go in there and say, this is not successful, and just to hear the voice of someone that maybe has done it or has seen it a million times from different teachers and say, have you tried this?
Sure. So the support that you'll need is you'll need time to actually review data together as a team, as well as time to not just fixate on the problems in the data, but really collaborate to solve the problems as they come up in the data. I agree wholeheartedly. So, well, thanks for participating in my summer committee, and I'm really looking forward to the work we do with our kiddos this year.